Matt McCarty is on his way to Newfoundland for the first time in almost 50 years to attend the burial of his estranged, destitute father, a former World War II Canadian Navy lieutenant. When Matt discovers an old, unopened letter from the past hidden by the man, it will thrust him into the adventure of a lifetime. The past will collide with the present, as Matt is stalked by modern-day villains while he attempts to unravel a 75-year-old mystery from 1942 and also find the family he never knew he had. The WestJet flight from Vancouver had been fairly pleasant for the most part, but became steadily more turbulent as the Boeing 737-800 headed into a thunderstorm over eastern Newfoundland, and the air pockets near St. John's turned the 70-ton beast into an airborne roller coaster in a driving rain. Touchdown brought an obligatory round of applause from some passengers, while others, including Matt, slowly unclenched their death grips on the armrests and breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't mind the height or bucking bronco effect, and for that matter, he would rather be free climbing a steep rock wall in a stiff breeze than pretty much anything else. In fact, the gray hair and calendar age of 67 notwithstanding, he was still fit and trim, running several miles a day and staying toned with weights in his home gym. No, it was being over the open ocean on final approach that had frightened him. Although intellectually he knew that falling out of the sky would make no difference whether over land or sea. After all, dead is dead. But for Matt, the deep had always been both an irresistible attraction and a source of terror. As the plane came to a gentle stop, the passengers began standing to retrieve belongings from the overhead compartments. A young boy who had been sitting several seats behind him, when he wasn't racing up and down the aisle, darted around them and bumped hard into Matt. The boy's haggard mother apologized to him and everyone around them as they worked their way toward the exit at the front. Soon they met again at the baggage carousel inside the terminal. "Sorry about the boy," she said, embarrassed. "Honestly, he's like a little savage." Matt smiled. "No problem. He's been cooped up on the plane since Calgary. I noticed that's where you got on." "Yes," she said. "I was visiting friends there while my husband is working up north on the oil rigs. And now I'm here for my sister's wedding. I've got to say, I wasn't sure we'd make it that last little while. I was some scared." Her son sped past and yelled back, "Mom, you're shit-baked." "Jesus, help me," she laughed. "You see what I got to put up with?" "Tell me now," she continued. "You don't sound like a Newfoundlander. Who do you belong to?" Matt smiled again as his memory of the colloquialisms commonly known as Newfoundlandese came flooding back. "You're right," he confessed. "I'm Matt McCarty. My folks are from Nova Scotia, but we moved to Bell Island when I was 5 after my father was hired to supervise electrical work in the iron ore mines. I had a bit of an accent once, but I've been away almost 50 years, so it's pretty much gone now, unless I get excited." Shaking hands with him, she said, "Nice to meet you, Matt. I'm Mary Walsh, and that little devil there is Gerald." They both collected their luggage, and with laden carts, began heading toward the terminal exit. "So," she continued, "I suppose this will be some fun visit you'll be having after 50 years away. Do you still have people here?" "It will be a bit mixed, actually," he said. "I'm here to bury my father and to visit with some old memories." "Oh no," she exclaimed. "I'm sorry to hear that." "It's all right. My father was in his late 90s and still living on his own, so I guess that's a win in anybody's book. I hadn't spoken to him since I left in 1968. Apparently he just went to sleep one night and didn't wake up. I'm really only here because there's no one else except for an old family friend who gave me the news. Dad's being put to rest in the Mount Pleasant Field of Honor as a World War II Navy veteran." "Well," she said as they parted ways, "sorry again about your trouble, but I do hope you find some enjoyment while you visit home after so many years. I'm sure everything will work out the way it's supposed to. Looks like Gerald has burned off some energy," noting that the boy now lay across the luggage on their cart, seemingly fast asleep. "So long for now." "Bye, all the best now," she replied, and disappeared in the crowd. The rain had let up, but it was still gray, wet, and windy as Matt went to the car rental counter and checked in. Then he made the long trek from the terminal down an outside semi-covered walkway to the rental lot. Checking the key fob against license plates, he located a new white Chevy Tahoe SUV. Throwing 2 large duffel bags and his carry-on backpack into the rear cargo area, he climbed into the cab. After adjusting the seat for his lanky 6-foot frame, Matt drove out of the airport parking lot. At the World Parkway traffic light, he could choose to turn right for a few miles toward the Portugal Cove ferry to Bell Island, or left to downtown St. John's. For now, his childhood home would have to wait, but that visit would come soon enough. He turned left and, speeding up, began the short drive to the city and the long overdue reunion with his father. At that same time, on Bell Island, just off Compressor Hill, a new-looking sign attached to a rusty old iron ore car advertised. Toward Bell Island's historic No. 2 Mining Museum. The small, dented and well-used relic of the past was displayed on a short section of rail track, and a painted arrow directed one up a short curving drive toward the attraction. In a large open field behind the museum, thousands of tons of waste rock, left over from the heyday of mining, created a miniature mountain. Here and there it showed patches of greenery and wild purple lupin flowers as the mound was slowly reclaimed by Mother Nature. Even so, almost 70 years after the No. 2 mine had shut down in 1950, the scene still bore silent testimony to the fact that once upon a time, this area had been one of 4 thriving, noisy, and dusty mining operations dotting the north side of the island, where hundreds of honorable men with strong backs tore the unyielding heavy red rock out of the earth and from under the sea. One by one, the other mines had shut down, beginning 10 years later. First No. 6, then No. 4, and finally in 1966 the end came, as No. 3 brought its last load to the surface, leaving only the ghosts of the past to roam the now empty submarine slopes. Arriving home from her part-time summer job in the museum gift shop, 15-year-old Cassie Clark was greeted at the back door with a slobbery head bonk from Kip, her grandmother Evelyn's aging Newfoundland dog. Kip was a gentle, sad-eyed beast, and at almost the same age as Cassie, he was slowing down, older now than most for such a large breed. One of the few memories she had of her mom was being held by the hand as a child and riding on Kip's powerful back, holding tightly with her other hand to his thick, curly black ruff. She looked at a framed picture of her mother, Elizabeth, who had passed when Cassie was 4, and smiled wistfully. Next to it on the mantelpiece was a similarly framed picture of her great-grandmother, Lorraine. Both pictures showed them smiling, with their waist-long hair down, both so beautiful and so unknowable. "Hey, Cass," her grandmother said, greeting her. "How are all the tourists doing today? We're having meatloaf for supper." Evelyn had a habit of asking a question and then plowing on with another topic before getting an answer. It was one of her endearing quirks, and always drew a smile from Cassie, who had learned to wait before answering. "Tourists are good," she replied as she helped set the table. "Had a bunch in from the States. We used to have people from here name it Parsons." "Oh, yes," said her grandmother. "There used to be bushels of Parsons here. I think one of them even died down in No. 3. Crushed by an ore car, I believe. What did they think of the mine tour?" "They didn't mention any crushing, but they loved the tour. Of course, Tom has a lot to do with that." Yes, Evelyn sighed. "Tom Crane is the best guide they got, all right, and so handsome, too. I'd give him a go if I was still after a bit." "Thank you for that visual, Graham, and on that note, I'm going to go clean up for supper." Cassie headed down the hallway with Kip lumbering after her, while Evelyn put the meatloaf on the old yellow Formica and chrome kitchen table. After supper, with dishes cleaned and put away, Cassie took her violin and went out on the back porch. The only thing between her and the ocean was a grassy strip of land that led to the cliff and the older mine tunnels that broke out onto the shore below. "Okay, Kip, what do you want to hear tonight?" she asked. Kip had been named by her grandfather after the Kippewa, an old, long-retired ferry boat that had run between the island and Portugal Cove on the mainland. It was said that the name befitted the dog because he was a powerful swimmer, and according to her grandfather, he was so strong that he could probably haul a couple of cars across the stretch of water called the Tickle from the mainland as good as the boat, if he put his mind to it. Kip thumped his heavy tail twice on the wooden porch in answer to her question, and then dozed as she began to play.